Saddle up, because we're cracking open Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger #1, a brutal and bloody new chapter from the Spawn universe, written by the legendary Jimmy Palmiotti. What happens when horror meets the Wild West? When a red-eyed stranger rolls into town with torture on his mind and a hellspawn chained in his sights? We're talking demons, dusty streets, gunfights, and a new anti-hero struggling with powers straight from the pit. This isn't just another Spawn spin-off, this is the origin story fans have been dying to see. We'll break down the gritty storytelling, the jaw-dropping art by Patrick Reynolds, the rich colors by Lewis NCT, and how this issue ties into the larger mythos built by none other than Todd McFarlane himself. Plus, we've got exclusive insights straight from Jimmy Palmiotti himself, so stick around, because this one's action-packed with lore, legacy, and lead-slinging vengeance. You're not going to want to miss it. Happy International Superheroes Day. Let's dive in. Gunslinger Spawn's mysterious past is brought to life in this gripping Western meets horror by Jimmy Palmiotti, based on the Spawn universe created by Todd McFarlane. When a red-eyed imposter comes to a small town of Gunnison, Colorado, he appears to have one purpose: pay a local outlaw and his gang to capture and torture a seemingly unknown traveler and push him to the brink of death. This traveler turns out to be a hellspawn, a warrior for the devil himself. Adjusting to his newfound abilities, Spawn attempts to rescue a local woman run afoul by the outlaw gang. He easily dispatches them and rescues her, only to run into the red-eyed stranger, who appears to have a plan for Spawn, if he doesn't kill him first. This issue was written by Jimmy Palmiotti. Palmiotti started in Marvel Comics in 1991. He inked titles such as The Punisher, Ghost Rider, The Nam, and the Marvel 2099 line. In 1994, Palmiotti and Joe Quesada formed a publishing company, Event Comics, and co-created Ash, a firefighter with superpowers, and Painkiller Jane, a female cop with healing powers. In 2023, DC Comics tapped Palmiotti and Amanda Conner, who happened to be married, to relaunch the Harley Quinn series. The 30-issue series would consistently be a top seller at DC, creating a large fan base and sparking numerous cosplay variants of the character at conventions. Speaking exclusively to Read the Freaking Comics, Palmiotti discusses this issue. This is the beginning of his story, with a tease of critical events of the past and a tease of what's to come. This is for first-timers and also for die-hard fans. Todd gave me the extra pages so we could cover what he wrote and integrate it into the current events of the character. This is a book for fans of the character and the Old West, as told through the eyes of someone getting comfortable in their new skin. This issue's cover and interiors were drawn by Patrick Reynolds. Reynolds is a comic book artist and cover artist known for Abe Sapien, Aliens, The Thing, and many more. He has also done extensive concept and character design work, as well as illustrated exclusive covers for several comic titles, including Gideon Falls, Skulldigger, and Black Hammer. Luis Nunez de Castro Torres, or Luis NCT for short, was a colorist on this issue. Luis has loved comics his whole life and was making comics and fanzines in high school, eventually studying fine arts before becoming a freelance artist. He has worked as a concept designer for video games and film, but his passion will always be comic books. His first long-form comic book was Sleepers, a post-apocalyptic sci-fi tale about a world ruined by giant robots. Letterer Tom Orzechowski is primarily known for his work on Uncanny X-Men. Over the course of his career, he has lettered over 6,000 pages of longtime X-Men writer Chris Claremont's scripts. He left the X-Men books shortly after Claremont in 1993. He joined the team putting out Image Comics Spawn in 1992, where his title was copy editor for most of the first 6 years. Thomas Healy is the editor-in-chief of the Spawn universe at Image and Todd McFarlane Productions. Healy has overseen key titles including Spawn, King Spawn, and The Scorched. His leadership has been pivotal in expanding the Spawn universe, introducing new storylines and characters that resonate with longtime fans and new readers. Healy is also the writer of Black Ritual, The Book of Nyx, a 7-issue occult horror series published by Image Comics. The name Todd McFarlane has become synonymous with Spawn, naturally, as this character was McFarlane's own creation when he was a teenager. Born in Canada, McFarlane's first professional comics work came in a backup story for Marvel's Coyote #11 in 1985. He soon began working for both DC and Marvel, with his first major body of work being a 2-year run on DC's Infinity Inc. in 1987. For Marvel, he worked on Incredible Hulk for a year before joining writer David Michelinie on The Amazing Spider-Man, beginning with issue 298. It was here where McFarlane began to turn heads. He drew Spider-Man with such fluid movement and in dynamic poses, and gave much more elaborate details to his webbing. It was during his run on Amazing that he became dissatisfied with the inability to control his work. Marvel responded by giving McFarlane a Spider-Man title of his own to write and draw. Spider-Man #1 from August 1990 was an instant hit and sold 2.5 million copies, largely due to the variant covers with which Marvel, seeking to capitalize on McFarlane's popularity, published the issue to encourage collectors into buying more than one edition. This practice was a result of the comic speculator bubble of the 1990s, which would burst later in the decade. However, even this newfound freedom wasn't enough for him, and he eventually left Marvel after Spider-Man issue number 16. In 1992, McFarlane formed Image Comics with 6 other popular artists. Now, if you wanted a Mount Rushmore of 1980s and 90s comic artists, this would be it. Eric Larson, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Wilcie Portacio, Mark Silvestri, Jim Valentino, and Todd McFarlane. Imagine that. Together they published Rob Liefeld's Youngblood and then the occult-themed Spawn. Upon its release, Spawn #1 sold 1.7 million copies. This remains a record for an independent comic book. Getting back to Gunslinger Spawn specifically, he made his debut in the franchise all the way back in Spawn number 174 in 2008. In the issue, Al Simmons, the current Spawn, discovers in a journal that his great-great-grandfather had actually encountered a Spawn in his era. Gunslinger Spawn was originally a man named Jeremy Winston. He was a priest that was framed for the murder of his own family. Winston was sentenced to hang alongside a man named Francis Parker, an ancestor of Al Simmons. Before the execution, Mammon, a demon who worked for the devilish Malbolgia, offered both of them unimaginable power for the price of their souls. Parker refused, but Winston accepted. After his hanging and death, he was reborn as a powerful and undead hellspawn. This character went unused for 12 entire years until he appeared again, this time possessing a man in the modern age. This issue takes place in the Gunslinger era, which occurred between 1850 and 1890, predominantly in the western part of the United States. Most of the action in this issue takes place in Gunnison, Colorado, which is indeed a real town that did exist in those times. Gunnison is the most populous municipality of Gunnison County, Colorado. The city population was about 6,500 in 2020. The city was named in honor of John W. Gunnison, a United States Army officer who surveyed for the Transcontinental Railroad in 1853. In the early 1800s, the groups moving into the Gunnison area were mainly fur trappers and mountain men, trying to make a living for themselves in the Rocky Mountain terrain. But a drop in fur prices in the 1840s essentially cut out the need for their jobs. The late 1850s saw the start of people joining the hunt for gold in Gunnison County. While this town could very well have had its share of gunfights, it was actually a lot more rare than television movies make it out to be. Of all the known gunfights of this era, only one was recorded in Colorado, and that was 163 miles away in Trinidad. On April 15, 1882, an argument over a game of cards subsequently led to Frank Loving and John Allen drawing their pistols on one another in the center of Main Street. Mutual friends intervened, and there was no further violence at the time. Not exactly the stuff of legend. The most common guns used during this period were Colt revolvers, particularly the Colt single-action .44 and .45 Peacemaker. Other notable firearms included Colt's 1849 pocket revolver, Remington revolvers, and various shotguns. Our main character's guns look like Colt 1851s or Colt Peterson, which is slightly older. Both are black powder percussion revolvers designed by Samuel Colt. They share a similar single-action mechanism and revolving cylinder, but differ in design refinements, with 1851 being more robust and widely used. After teasing us for years, Image Comics finally rolls out a definitive Gunslinger Spawn series with Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger. Set in the late 1800s, the series dived deep into the origins of the Gunslinger Spawn, only hinted at in previous series. The first issue set the stage for the series, showcasing our anti-hero's shocking origins and introducing us to the mysterious stranger with piercing red eyes and unique abilities. Who is this stranger? Is it Mammon, the Violator, or something worse? Jimmy Palmiotti had to check off many boxes with this first issue. Tell an interesting story, make sure the origins of Gunslinger Spawn mesh with the established canon, and introduce these characters to a potential new audience. Palmiotti delivers 3 for 3 here in this first issue. Gripping, brutal, and at its core, a true Western story fraught with peril. Patrick Reynolds' cover and interiors are just as compelling. He mixes the bleak atmosphere of the Wild West with bold splashes of fiery reds and frosty blues, showcasing the diversity that a Colorado climate can bring. His images are haunting and unforgiving at times, but never over the top. Being relatively new, this issue is pretty much worth their cover price. There are variant covers out there coming in at different prices. Let's talk Spawn publisher Image Comics. Image is the third largest direct market comic book and graphic novel publisher in the industry by market share. Its founders envisioned it as a venue for creator-owned properties, in which comic creators could publish material of their own creation without giving up the copyrights for those properties. Its output was originally dominated by superhero and fantasy titles, but now includes comics in many genres by numerous independent creators. Some of the other best-known publications include The Walking Dead, Kick-Ass, Invincible, Witchblade, Saga, and many others. In 2024, the comic industry saw mixed signals across different areas. The overall North American market grew by $2.39 billion, led by Marvel and DC, who continued to dominate sales and mainstream appeal. Image, Dark Horse, and IDW rounded out the top 5 publishers, with Image standing out for its creator-owned titles. Some of the standout comics that captured readers' attention in 2024 included a series of relaunches and fresh takes on established characters. These are Ultimate Spider-Man, Absolute Batman, Transformers #1, Blood Hunt, Dazzler, Spider-Woman, Wolverine, X-Men #1, and Namor #1. This week I wanted to find a comic shop located in Gunnison, Colorado, and while I did find a nice bookstore, shout out to you Abracadabra on Main Street, the closest comic shop I could find was in Aurora, Colorado. If you're in the area, I recommend you check out All Seas Collectibles located at 1250 South Abilene Street in Aurora, Colorado, or visit them at allscollectibles.com. That's going to do it for this deep dive into Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger #1. Jimmy Palmiotti and the creative team came out blazing, delivering a brutal, atmospheric western that blends horror, hellfire, and a fresh look at one of Spawn's most mysterious incarnations. Gunslinger Spawn isn't just a cool visual anymore. He's a character with roots, rage, and one hell of a vendetta. If you haven't picked it up yet, snag it while you can, and keep your eyes peeled for those variant covers. Thanks for checking out this video. If you want to see more, please hit like and subscribe. If you have suggestions for comics you want me to deep dive into, please leave a comment below. Please help and support real artists. AI is great for a lot of things, but not for creating art and replacing artists. Thank you.